Hey guys, what's going on? Don Martino here. I'm sitting here with my good buddy, Mr. Jose Espinel. This time around, this breakdown is going to be a little bit different for Obi-Wan Part 3, Episode 3, whatever you want to call it, because I thought I should bring Jose in because this is the episode with Vader and there's a lot to kind of go through here. So it'll be a little longer than the usual breakdowns, a little bit different than the usual breakdowns, as you can tell, but I'm very excited regardless, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So let's get right into it. So the episode starts out basically with Obi-Wan meditating and he's calling out Qui-Gon again, so there was that, and I thought that played really nicely. It was very consistent with what we saw at the end of the last episode.
And the voices coming in of Anakin with him, I think it was on Mustafar.
Yeah, we had flashbacks.
Yoda's voice, and then you had Qui-Gon's voice come in as well, so I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was so sick, man. Like, this episode as a whole, and we'll get into it a little bit more later, to me definitely connected the prequel trilogy with the OG a lot more, but we'll get into that a little bit further down the line. Moving on, though, we did end up seeing Vader. That was really awesome. It kind of flashed back and forth, and we were seeing Vader at Vader's castle, mind you, which was super
that was
cool.
Sick. That was so sick.
I love that. I love seeing Vader at Vader's castle at Mustafar.
I like seeing like him get his suit on first, like his legs and his arms, and then like get the whole suit on first and stuff. That was really cool. And then watching him, in his castle was really cool.
Absolutely, man, and it definitely just spoke volumes about the fact that they are trying to really move on this Vader's castle thing. They're trying to push that into canon and keep that in canon, which I really like. We saw it in Rogue One, we saw it in Vader Immortal, now we're seeing it again here, which I really like that just being a big part of canon. Moving off from that, Vader's sitting on the throne, and I just think the throne looks super fucking sick.
Oh, it's like so fucking amazing. Yeah, with the whole aesthetic of like the red in the background, because of, it's lava, it's Mustafar, the whole red aesthetic, I thought it was really cool. Him just looking so badass on that throne.
And then it's him talking to Reva, right? And Reva is kind of giving him the runaround a little bit because she's trying to tell him that she didn't kill the Grand Inquisitor. Vader don't really give a shit at this point. He just wants the job done.
He also says, he's like, look, if you get this done, then you can become the Grand Inquisitor. I'll make that happen, is basically what Vader was saying, which I thought was really cool too.
It's super consistent with the way that we see Vader in Empire Strikes Back, though, because in Empire Strikes Back, we're really seeing that side of Vader where he doesn't care who gets the job done, right?
As long as someone does.
Choking the guy out on the video, right?
He's and then he makes the new guy the leader. He's like, yeah, look, just get it done.
There's a lot of advancement opportunity under the reign of Vader, but you might die. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So
like, you can get promoted so fast, but at the same time you can just die like that. One fuck up and you're dead.
Absolutely. It's so true. The part of this I thought that was really cool was when Leia came up to Obi-Wan. She was kind of like, Leia was asking Obi-Wan to use the Force to make the ship go faster, and then she had a lot of curiosity, which I really loved. Leia's curiosity and how the Force worked and all that kind of stuff. And the way that Obi-Wan described it, of if you're afraid of the dark, then you turn on the light, then you feel safe. That's what the Force is like. I thought that conversation played really awesome.
Yeah, I like how he tried describing it like a father figure. Almost like describing it to your kid, like if you're afraid of the dark. And yeah, I thought it was really cool the way that he described that.
100%. It was amazing. And we have never heard the Force described in that way, though, to where we could really relate to it. So that was one of the things I really loved. So they land at the mining planet,
right?
And then they're walking down the road and they're talking to each other, which I really loved that conversation. And
I thought the whole that scene was pretty cool. I didn't think that that Ewan McGregor and this little girl could have like such great chemistry. But in this episode, you can really tell like how great of chemistry them two really have. This whole father-daughter type of chemistry that they're having throughout this entire episode. I thought it was really nice.
But we get Leia a dynamic right here from like A New Hope, because, well, first of all, Obi-Wan thinks that the guy Kumail Nanjiani's character was lying to him. Hajia Estru, that was his name. It's all because of his frustration that this whole thing kind of spirals out of control from here. And then we see Leia kind of take over, start calling the shots, and it reminded me so much of a New Hope Leia, when she's just like calling the shots. She gets
because what was so funny is like when Obi-Wan was like, look, I'm your father, you're my daughter, we're from a farming planet, you don't talk at all. And then out of nowhere she's like, no, you know what, I'm gonna talk and I'm gonna just take control of the whole situation. It almost reminds me of like her parents. They're diplomatic people, they know how to control situations and all sort of stuff, and she basically just did that in this episode, and I loved it. It was great.
Yeah. Well, what did she say? She was like, I can't talk, and then Ewan McGregor or Obi-Wan was like, You don't talk. I love that. That was funny. So that scene was hysterical.
Oh, bro,
too.
the scene where Obi-Wan was gonna say hello. I thought he was gonna say hello there. I was.
That was a missed opportunity, was it
exactly,
not?
because he could have been like hello there, but no, he just says hello. I was like, oh, come on now.
Well, let's dive into that, because then they go up to the transport, and the guy, it's Zach Braff, by the way, who's voicing this guy, but he's like, hi, I'm Frank. Yeah, that was hysterical to me. Like, I laughed so hard when I heard that. So that was really funny. It was actually really relatable to like our real world politics, though. It's an Imperial transport, though, and we realize that almost immediately when Obi-Wan goes to the back of it. He sees the Imperial flag hanging, and then it's like, oh shit. So it really starts this suspense in the episode. Really keeps that suspense pretty consistent from here on out, to be honest with you. So they get on this transport, and then the clones come up, right? Or I say clones, but stormtroopers. They were clones once. That's all that matters. So they get on the transport, and they're having this conversation and talking to Leia, and he calls her Leia, even though he says her name was Luma. So he's like, no, that's my mother's name. That's her mother's name. Oh my god, he played that so well. That was like the perfect save. And then
when Leia was like, you knew my mother, didn't you? My real mother. I was like, oh, dude. That shit was like, oh man, that hit, man. He does know who your mother is.
And I thought this was excellent because it gave us a really good opportunity to get to know a little bit more about Obi-Wan's backstory. We actually got some new information here that we never knew about his brother. I bet you that comes back around somewhere down the line.
I was gonna say, because when he said, oh, I had a brother, I was like, yo, what? You had a brother? The fuck?
Whether it's in a TV show, a book, or something, it's gonna come back down the line. Yeah, that'll come back around somewhere.
When Leia's like, were you my real father? He was like, oh, I wish I was, or something like that. I was like, oh man.
It was a great emotional conversation, and you really connected with the knowing what happens to the prequels, obviously, and Clone Wars and so on and so forth. It really is a great conversation that they had. So I really enjoyed that. That was one of the best moments of the episode.
Oh, 100%.
Outside of Darth Vader. Like, it's really good, that little conversation they had. It really brings it up.
The scene in the I don't know, the building where the Inquisitors are, that whole scene with Reva and
correct. That
scene was really cool.
That was a great scene, and they sent out the probe droids, and I'm still convinced that that's the planet from Jedi Fallen Order. I can't confirm that, but I'm convinced
no doubt about it.
It has to be. It just makes sense because it would line up with canon if it was.
Exactly.
So I'm convinced that's where they're at, but who knows? We'll find out. Maybe they'll name it. They sent out the probe, so we know that shit's about to go badly here for Obi-Wan because there's probes out there now. Well, now they've identified his location too, which is another big oh shit moment for this whole episode, because you're like, holy shit, I can't believe
you already know that shit's about to go down.
Yeah. And if I could credit Deborah Chow on something with her direction here, which I credit her on a lot, this is what's amazing about this episode. We know the fate of these characters. We know Leia's gonna live. We know Obi-Wan's gonna live, yet we are still constantly scared to death for them throughout this entire 100%. Episode.
Like, honestly, watching this show almost makes me forget the 4, 5, and 6. It's like I'm in a whole new thing. I don't know what episode 4, 5, and 6, what happens in them. I'm just like zoned in on this episode and what's about to happen, even though deep down in my head I know that they all survive because they're in 4, 5, and 6.
It's incredible.
Which I honestly 100%. Yeah,
it's incredible how she does that. I agree, man. It's incredible how she just kind of makes you forget about it all and just puts you in the moment of what's going on.
Exactly.
And we're in the present, and we're constantly there throughout the entirety of this episode, and it's amazing because we shouldn't be afraid at all. We know the stakes, but that's a testament to Deborah Chow as a director. She does so great with this stuff. So moving on, they end up at this checkpoint pretty much, and Obi-Wan's like, are we getting off here?
He's like, can we get off here? And he's like, no,
is that what he said?
This is easy checkup or whatever. I got this.
Right, it wouldn't take long at all. And then he gets off and he's like, I found a couple people I thought you might want to check out. And so then they do that, and doesn't go very well because then they ask Obi-Wan to hop off the back of the truck. Then the probe comes up and then starts scanning Obi-Wan. They ask him to put his head up, and I like this little movie did where he had the hood up, and it was just like it was almost this way to buy himself a little bit of that extra time. That was kind of the move there.
So where he just pulls out his blaster, boom, shoots the droid, and then just starts
amazing
fucking up these stormtroopers. That sequence was incredible.
And it's like the second that the probe recognizes who he is, and it's really good. It's really timely on his part. So he does all that, and I love the move when he kind of like goes a little bit lower with the weapon when the stormtrooper has Leia hostage. He's like, all right, I'm about to put down my boom, and then the angle he shoots him at was brilliant. It was a really well shot scene of action. And when the stormtrooper gets slit in half when he falls in the sensor, that was wild.
I saw, you know what's funny? I saw this meme. It was like, Disney says that they're not Disney says they're PG, also Disney, and it has a picture of the stormtrooper being sliced in half.
Yeah. Well, I think they made a comment a while back about that they wouldn't show stormtrooper dismemberment, but here we are. They kind of went back on that. So
but I thought that was really sick.
Yeah. I might be mistaken on that. Don't quote me on that, but I swear to God, they did comment a long time ago saying that they would never show like a stormtrooper dismembered, but there we are. So I love seeing it. I thought it was cool.
Same. Yeah, I thought it was
very cool. It actually shows you what these sensors can actually do, because like I think we've seen sensors like this in the Star Wars universe, but we've never seen anything like that happen. We've never seen anything fall on it to where we can actually recognize what they would actually do to somebody. I think in Mandalorian there were some of them. Now we know. Now we know that sensors are very dangerous.
And another car of stormtroopers come and
the contact.
They go to the floor, and the contact just takes out the rest of the stormtroopers and says, hey, I'm the person you're supposed to meet, and she takes them into the town.
Yes, the contact revealed herself to them and said that she was the person they were supposed to meet. That's absolutely correct. And then she takes them into the town, and then they're in the town, and then Leia and Obi-Wan actually have this really great moment, because now Leia is suddenly scared to death. I don't think she's ever witnessed violence like this in her life. So
and then she says, I'll never run away from you ever again. I shouldn't have done it. I think she said she just wanted some fun.
Yeah.
And then now she's like, no, I will never leave your side. I'll never run away ever again.
Well, she explained that she'd done it a billion times for fun, and that was the great moment where Obi-Wan put his hand on her shoulder and said it wasn't her fault. I thought that was a really sweet, touching moment.
There's a lot of emotional, sweet, moments in this show.
Yeah,
I really appreciated that.
Yeah, sometimes it slows down just enough to have those moments, and I think it was paced incredibly well in that regard. It didn't do it too much, you know what I mean? It was just the perfect amount, and then we kept the story moving and the suspense going. And then they follow Tala is the character into this place, and then Leia meets this droid, and
who doesn't talk.
That's correct. And Obi-Wan fixed Lola in the beginning of the episode. We didn't forget to mention that, but she's kind of trying to get Lola to communicate with the droid. Then she's like, the droid doesn't communicate, and she says actions speak louder than words, and we know why and here in a minute. But then they go into this little cave. Now this is one of the parts that's the most interesting, is she's talking about how they call this the path. A lot of Jedi have been through here.
I was gonna say, you're not the only one. So many other Jedis have gone in through here, and then that's when he sees the engraving on the wall from a certain person that he knows. Can't remember the name of that person.
Hold on. Let's stop there for a second, because he sees the name on the wall. It's Quinlan Voss, who's such an underrated character, because Quinlan is a guy who went to the dark side because he was ordered to. He's the only Jedi in the Clone Wars that was ever ordered to go into the dark side to be a spy, and then he actually fell into the dark side a little too much under the reign of Dooku. So that's a whole canon story. It's in the book Dark Disciple, which you should definitely read. It's a really great read, and that he's one of the most interesting characters because of it. And by the way, if Jason Momoa were to ever pop up in a Star Wars, it would be as Quinlan Voss. I'm just letting you know right now, he would be perfect for that role. So let's hire him for that. If we do want to bring him in, it'd be very cool. But Quinlan is such a great character.
You're listening to this Disney.
But Quinlan's great. He falls in love with the Saj Ventress, and that's kind of what ends up pulling him out of the dark side. So I thought the quote on the wall from him was fantastic, because he's somebody who's been on the other side and has come out of it. And I think that's really great. The other thing I would like to mention is I guarantee in Jedi Survivor, Cal Kestis goes through the path to try to get away at some point in time. So I think that's going to come back around in canon. And I think Tala, the character, will probably be in Jedi Survivor. Just a theory right now, but something I wanted to point out really quick before we moved on here. Leia's asking Tala all sorts of questions, and I thought their exchanges were really great, actually.
He's like, hey, can you teach me how to shoot a blaster? And then she was like, oh, she'll make a great shooter at some point in the future. And
right.
Evidently she does, because in episode 4, 5, and 6, she's a very talented blaster holder.
Yeah, and this goes into that, like I was saying toward the beginning, this episode further connecting the OG trilogy and the prequel trilogy together. It really works. I think that the show has now almost felt more necessary than ever when we get around to these moments like this. Like now, I can't see myself watching Star Wars without the series in between the prequels.
Honestly,
and the OG.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that's how good it actually is, and that's again another big testament to Deborah Chow's directing.
Yeah, you go episode 1, 2, 3, Obi-Wan show 4, 5, 6.
Yeah,
like you literally watch it in that order, and it just would make complete sense because it's like it's basically Star Wars episode 3.5.
Yeah. Well, what I'm hoping happens is we go episode 1, 2, 3, Obi-Wan, Andor, Rogue One, then the OG trilogy. I think that would be pretty cool. You could put Solo in there, I guess. If you want to. It's a good movie.
It tells you the backstory.
Yeah,
Solo.
There's stuff in there. I don't think it's quite as strong as say Obi-Wan, but anyway.
Well,
we'll get into that. So they're getting ready to go through the path, and then some stormtroopers knock on the door first, and then that's when we see the droid with the thing behind his back, but he doesn't end up using it.
The hammer.
But the explanation of actions speak louder than words makes so much more sense now. He was like trained for attack,
for combat,
combat. Thank you. That was a better way to put it. But yeah, smarter than me. You're smart. I'm dumb. You're handsome. I'm not that great looking.
Then they leave because there was like, he's a transporter droid. He doesn't communicate, and they leave.
Then they're ready to go through the path again.
This part right here. Obi-Wan feels a presence. Oh my god, dude! His facial expression's incredible. He feels a presence. He starts walking towards the door, and who does he see? The Inquisitors, and who's walking?
Well, Vader's coming around the corner.
Vader, exactly. Vader's right there.
Yeah, you're right. And Ewan McGregor did a great job. He's doing a great job in the series so far. This is probably his best outing as Obi-Wan in terms of performance. I'm not gonna lie to you. He's doing really amazing work here.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of a subtlety to it, but it's also just so powerful at the same time, and it's really, really working out. Vader's coming around the corner. This is one of the
man's killing people left, right, and center.
This is like probably the most ruthless we've seen him, and it's not even in the sense that you have that Rogue One scene, which is great and it's ruthless, but in this, I think the difference was sort of the reactions that we're kind of seeing portrayed on the screen here, because he kills the one guy, which amazing when he pulls him out of the window and he's floating and he chokes him out. That was incredible. Then he cracks another one's neck, then he like throws another one against the wall, and then he's taking this woman, and this is what made it all the more terrifying, is that woman screaming as he's dragging her across the sand. And that's what makes the scene so much more terrifying. This is 100% hands down the scariest Vader has ever been. There's no denying it. He is 100% terrifying in this episode. He's coming close to the door,
and he's telling her to take Leia to the transport.
He tells Tala to take Leia, right, and get her to Alderaan. Promise me you'll get her to Alderaan.
And he's like, I'll distract him.
Which remember, she did promise him, and I think that's going to come back around later. She did promise that she would get her there. But we'll talk about that in a minute.
And he's like, I'll get him away from here, and so he ends up leaving, and Darth Vader's like choking. He's like midway choking someone, and then he feels a presence. He looks over to where Obi-Wan was, and he's not there.
Oh my gosh, the transitions between Vader looking one way and then the quick cut to him looking the opposite direction, and the way that was all edited together is amazing editing. And Vader chasing after Obi-Wan kind of going through, and then you just the lightsaber ignites.
Seeing Darth Vader's lightsaber ignite was just
incredible. It was incredible.
I got chills seeing that, honestly. That was great. And then the dialogue that Vader had in this too is like, the years have made you weak. I was like, oh.
Well, they didn't even start fighting yet when Obi-Wan had asked him, what have you become? Which, by the way...
when he said, I have become what you made me, I was like...
That's right. That was insanely powerful. Man, which, by the way, Obi-Wan igniting his saber was dope.
Like, when he ignited his lightsaber, that shit was sick.
Well, it was a real triumphant moment, right? Because we finally saw this lightsaber get ignited. We've been waiting on it, and we haven't seen this saber ignited in 17 years as audience members, so that was a huge moment, I thought. And him igniting that saber, again, very triumphant, but also this is my biggest nitpick. This is the one nitpick I'm going to give this episode, and it's very small. There is a shot, it lasts for maybe 3.5 seconds, where the lightsaber looks plastic. That was it. There was one shot. It looks more plastic than I've ever seen a lightsaber look on screen, but
I think I was so into the episode, I didn't even realize that.
I watched it about 5 times today, so excuse me if I've known
that makes sense. I've only seen it once. So.
But honestly, there was one shot that once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's one of those things. So like, I think I noticed it the second time around, and like again, once I saw it, you just can't unsee it, and it's always gonna bother me. This made me cringe just a little bit because it looks so incredibly plastic. But when Luke picks up that saber in A New Hope the first time, it doesn't look plastic, but it don't look like the sabers could, and
the metal like metal,
yeah. But I'm just so used to that scene looking that way in A New Hope that it doesn't bother me anymore. I think, you know what I mean, because that's just how I grew up with it. So it's different here because now it's like I know we have the technology to do it better, and so like when I see that, it's one of those things I can't unsee. 3.5 seconds. It's my one complaint about the episode, and it's
3.5 seconds of a whole like 45-minute episode.
I mean that as a compliment. All in all, that's the one thing that you did wrong for me. Oh my gosh, because the rest of this is incredible when they start fighting, and I love those shots of Vader getting Obi-Wan, but like Obi-Wan's saber is on the ground, and like I heard a couple people ask, like, why didn't Obi-Wan use the Force? It's like, you guys have to realize he's been tapped out of the Force for 10 years. He
struggled to use the Force when he saved Leia in episode 2.
Yeah.
Like he really struggled.
Yeah. I feel big up to us as Last Jedi fans. I'm just going to throw this out there really quick because this shows me they don't ignore that concept of...
Because, with Luke,
because so many people complained about Luke doing the same thing, right? And
I bet you people are going to... This is going to be a very divided episode because so many people are going to be fucking complaining.
I heard the complaints already about how Obi-Wan can't be badass. It's like, you guys don't understand what a defeated Jedi is.
This dude's been in hiding for so long of his life. He's been so tapped out of... He's been tapped out of the Force for so fucking long. It's hard to get back into it. You know what I mean? Especially when you find out that your apprentice is still fucking alive. You thought he was dead, but he's alive. It's hard. It's very hard.
Yeah. So I've heard that question thrown around a couple times today from people about him using the Force. I'm like, no.
And that's the same thing with Luke in 789. His Padawan was Ben Solo, and he tapped out because he ended up turning to the dark side. So it's hard. I understand now.
The way we're seeing Obi-Wan now, I would compare it to Rey in the first half of her fight with Ben Solo, because Rey in the first half of her fight with Ben Solo, she wasn't tapped into the Force yet. Obi-Wan's got to get there, and that's kind of how it was. But
it's basically it's like he's sort of a Padawan back again. When he's not really tapped into the Force, and he's kind of just new at combat with the lightsaber again.
A little bit, but we also have to remember he's still Obi Wan fucking Kenobi, and he still held his own for a little while. Like, it wasn't as strong as it used to be, clearly, but he held his own against Darth freaking Vader for a little bit there. So let's keep that in mind. So
he did try to find alternate ways of running away. When he sliced at that machine and the smoke. Oh, bro, that part when he slashed out that machine and the smoke came out and you just see Darth Vader's red just walking through the smoke. Dude, that was sick.
Yeah,
that was very, very sick. But yeah, no, he did hold his own against Darth fucking Vader. So
yeah, and the line, you were right when he was saying about how weak he was. It really reminded me of A New Hope too, because
the years have made you weak. Yeah.
Yeah.
When the last fight they had.
Yeah, so it's furthering that connection again. It's starting that sort of dialogue.
When he's like, we meet again.
Yeah,
we meet again. Yeah,
it's starting the dynamic that they have when they fight, that there's this dialogue going on between them, and I think that's even furthering the connection that we have in A New Hope. That's my personal opinion. So I love that a lot, and I think that played really nicely. Then we had Vader kind of putting down he started to force choke Obi-Wan with the saber in his hand. What a shot!
And then he drops the lightsaber, obviously, because he's being fucking force choked.
Yeah.
And then Vader. First of all, Vader force brings a bunch of stuff to the floor. Then he's force choking him.
Yeah.
And then when he ignites it with his lightsaber, that was so sick.
Yeah.
He ignites the floor with his lightsaber, and he's like, "You will now feel the pain that I felt." That line was so amazing. Like, honestly, that was very well delivered. I really enjoyed that. And then he, obviously brings him down with the Force to the fire, and he's burning him up.
Yeah. I'm constantly thinking about how close Vader was to his daughter, though, and didn't even know it. That, I think, is a really cool thing. And same for Leia being so close to her father, not even knowing it when we had that conversation just not that long ago about her heritage. which is really, really fascinating to me. That's always going to stick in the back of my mind when I'm watching these moments too. And then in the inner room, we have Leia telling Tala, convincing her, again, calling the shots, go save Obi-Wan, bring him back. I love that line, bring him back. I thought that was incredibly Leia, incredibly mature for her age. That's kind of always been Leia, just a little bit older than her years. And I thought that line just definitely showed that in this young girl, this young version of Leia. So I thought that line was incredible.
Fire goes out and Darth Vader's like, bring him to me.
With the Force, by the way, which was badass. He just pulled the fire out with the Force.
And then the stormtrooper's walking towards him, and then Tal, takes out the stormtrooper, and they're all looking over towards where she is. Then she ignites the fire again, and the transport droid, picks up Obi-Wan to kind of pull him away. And Darth Vader, bro, that stare from Darth Vader, like you could just see his facial reaction under that mask the whole time.
So what do you think it is, though? Do you think that he can only handle so much fire that he didn't cross through at this point because he still has that fear? Do you think he's toying with Obi-Wan? Do you think he's trying to wait till Obi-Wan's at his full prime again to try to prove that he's better? What do you think?
I guess, that part that makes sense, to the fact that because at the time he was wanting the stormtrooper to bring him when he was weak, but then when the fire ignited again, he just because he could have easily just taken out the fire again and just
Vader.
He could have taken out the fire with the Force like he did the first time, fucked up the droid, and then had Obi-Wan in his hands. I think he's toying with his food. I think he's trying to give Obi-Wan the chance to recover, get back to his prime, and be like, look, I can beat you even when you're at your prime. I think that's what he's doing.
Or, the third alternative is Vader still conflicted with Obi-Wan because
I was literally gonna say that. I was gonna say I feel like he's kind of on the fence with, because he's like, that was my master. He trained me to become the good guy that he was at the time, obviously. So I feel like he is still in a way conflicted on like where he kind of stands with Obi-Wan.
Yeah. There might be a little bit of that at play. I just hope we get the answer here pretty soon, because honestly, Vader, in any other sense, could have pulled Obi-Wan right through that fire back in and just destroyed him right there, annihilated him. The Vader that we see in Rogue One, that he would do easily taken Obi-Wan out initially, but I think he's in a different spot right now slightly, and I think that's what they're trying to portray with that. But I do love the shot of Vader standing there while the fire's going. I think it's a beautiful moment.
I feel like
one of my favorite shots.
I feel like up until he ultimately when Obi-Wan let him kill him, I feel like up until that point he was still conflicted on where he stood. I think up until he killed Obi-Wan, he was still very conflicted.
Yeah.
Once he killed Obi-Wan, he knew like where he stood. So I feel like up until he killed him, he was still kind of conflicted on where he stood with Obi-Wan.
Yeah, I definitely think what happens is Obi-Wan's going to wake up now, and he's not going to be happy with Tala because she didn't fulfill her promise. Leia's been kidnapped now, because that was the big cliffhanger, which I wasn't expecting.
When Leia gets to the end, and then I heard her voice and I knew instantly that it was.
Of course, Reva. I just didn't expect this episode to end on such a big cliffhanger like that, but I'm glad it kind of did.
Yeah, where Leia,
to look forward to.
Where Leia was just running away and Reva was chasing her. Yeah, that was I was like, damn, because as soon as I heard her voice, my eyes just like popped wide open, because I was like, what the fuck? Because I knew she was there. I was like, damn, she got there before her, but how? Because she was on the other end. Maybe she walked around. I don't know.
That was literally like ending a movie in the middle of a shot right there, the way that they ended that. And I'm okay with that. Again, it gives us something to look forward to.
It's a cliffhanger.
I'm so excited for what comes next week. I think that the show's just really going to ramp up from here. It's hard for me to really rank this above that Ahsoka episode in Mandalorian, but it's very close. It's a very close call. So.
I was gonna say this was definitely my favorite episode of the three so far.
Absolutely, yeah, mine too. Yeah. And it's honestly, a lot of it goes right back into what I was saying before. Deborah Chow's direction. She just showed everything 100%. That she can do here.
Yeah.
And it had all...
I like how they got James Earl Jones back to voice Darth Vader. I thought that was really cool.
It was in really good taste. And by the way, Hayden Christensen, under that costume, we can't discredit him. He did a lot of great work under the...
I was gonna say too, yeah. I mean, yeah. Even though it's James Earl Jones voicing again Darth Vader, like he did in 4, 5, and 6, you can't discredit it's the same thing in 4, 5, 6. You can't discredit who was under the suit in episodes 4, 5, and 6. Same thing here. You can't discredit Hayden Christensen because
he nailed the movements, man.
I was gonna say his body movements under the suit are just incredible. Him and James Earl Jones. Well, he actually really makes Darth Vader, because I mean, don't get me wrong, James Earl Jones's dialogue is fucking incredible, but
Yeah.
Hayden Christensen also does make Darth Vader. It's like them two are just really nailing Darth Vader right now.
Yeah,
honestly.
nailed the movements, and I really love that. And did we need Hayden under there? No, but I love that he's there because it does further that connection just a little bit more for me. Just
And
knowing
and honestly, like, you know, Hayden and Ewan McGregor just have such a great chemistry together that it makes it that much better. This whole Obi-Wan Vader thing, yeah.
Well, absolutely, man. And those are our thoughts, guys, on this episode. I thought it was a real amazing episode, and I'm so looking forward to the rest of it. I think again, I think we're flying high from here. I think it just ramps up and just never stops. That's kind of where I think we're going now. And I think that's a real testament to the way the show's been. That's our breakdown. Thank you so much for joining. We want to ask you what you thought of this week's episode. Please let us know in the comment section below. There's no right or wrong answer. Just be nice to each other in the comments. Please don't be a dickhead. Let us know if you like the more conversational breakdown or the ones that I do singular. Honestly, I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions. If you guys want to see more of Jose, we'll look into that. So that's something we'll definitely
of course I want to see more of me. Come on now.
Get out of here, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave some feedback in the comment section, share this with your friends, hit the bell for notifications. I've been Don Martino, that's been Jose Espinel, and we'll talk to you guys later.